Yesterday at work, my wife Ava came up to home and casually mentioned something that shattered my entire world. She told Mesh was going on a date, yes, a date with one of her colleagues. My name is Nathan, I'm 32, and I've been married to Ava, 33, for nearly 7 years, our marriage up. Until recently, had always seemed stable. We had a quiet life, by choice free of children, which suited us both at least, so it hot a few months ago. Though something started to shift, Ava began expressing dissatisfaction with her life. She would say that she felt stagnant, if trapped in a monotonous routine. Oneidari. She even suggested that maybe having a child could bring some excitement and meaning in her life. While we had agreed early in our relationship that kids weren't part of the plan, I told her I was open to discussing it. However, after only a couple of conversations, she dismissed the idea entirely, calling it a fleeting thought. I chalked it up to a phase or some passing anxiety. I had no idea it was the prelude to something far more serious. Then came yesterday when Ava dropped the bombshell, "I'm going on a date tonight." She said completely nonchalantly. At first, I thought it was some kind of joke. I even laughed nervously, waiting for her to join in. Boother, her expression stayed deadly serious. Her lips were pressed together and her eyes didn't waver. She wasn't joking. "What do you mean, a date?" I asked, my voice trembling as confusion and disbelief swirled within me. She explained in a tone so casual it felt surreal that it was with Eric, a colleague of hers. She claimed it was simply a way to add some excitement to her life. The words stuck in my throat like poison. Excitement. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My world was spinning. A remained command matter of fact, even dismissive, as if this was a normal conversation. She went in to explain how Eric too felt stuck in life and that they had bonded over their shared frustration. She insisted that it was just dinner, a harmless outing between two adults. When I asked her why she even called it a date, her response was chilling transparency. She said, as if being upfront about her betrayal made it any less painful. I felt sick, my mind raised, desperate to comprehend what was happening. But before I could say another word, Ava kissed me lightly on the forehead, turned and walked off to get ready. I was left sitting on the couch, frozen, my emotions a mix of rage, heartbreak, and helplessness. I watched as she got ready, putting on her favorite scarlet dress, the one she always wore on special occasions. My chest act as I realized she had chosen this dress not for me, but for someone else. I felt the ground beneath me crumble as she smiled to herself in the mirror. This wasn't my wife, or at least not the woman I thought. I knew my world was collapsing, and Shedden seemed to care. Desperate for clarity, I called my best friend, Kevin, too, ashamed to admit the truth. I framed the situation as a problem a colleague of mine was going through. Kevin suggested it might just be an innocent outing, but deep down I knew better. This wasn't innocent. This was betrayal. Ava returned home earlier than I had expected, around 9:30 p.m. She was smiling, but it was strained and hollow. Her lipstick was smudged, her eyes restless. She hugged me and whispered it was so exciting, Nathan, just what I needed. I felt like a knife had been plunged into my heart. Then she dropped the next bombshell. They were already planning a weekend trip together. I couldn't process what was happening. I just stood there, numb and hollow. Ava, on the other hand, seemed oblivious to the damage she was causing that night. I couldn't sleep. I lay on the couch, replaying the events over and over in my mind. It became painfully clear our marriage was over. There was no going back. But if I thought she could treat me like this and walk away, and Scathach was wrong. I had been loyal and faithful for 7 years, and this was how she repaid me. The more I thought about it, the more determined I became. I would make her regret everything the next days. Ava buzzed around the house, preparing for her weekend trip. I began to formulate my plan. I wasn't going to beg her to stay, and I certainly wasn't going to yell or argue. Instead, I would let her feel the cold, crushing weight of her choices. By Saturday afternoon, I had new locks installed on the house. Her key would no longer work. I also packed a lot of her belongings into trash bags and moved them to the garage that night. I watched silently As Ava packed her suitcase, humming to herself, she was so full of anticipation, so giddy about the prospect of her trip. With Eric, I recorded her on my phone as she spoke, capturing her reckless boast about how free and alive she felt. I knew this would be crucial both for the divorce and to ensure she couldn't twist the narrative later. On Saturday morning, Eric's black car pulled into the driveway. Ava, dressed in another tight-red dress, blew me a kiss as she climbed into the car. I didn't react. I just watched them drive away, the final nail in the coffin of our marriage. When Aya returned Sunday evening, she found herself locked out. Her key didn't work, and she began pounding on the door, calling my name. I sat inside, watching her on the security camera. She looked frantic and desperate. When I finally opened the door, her tear-streaked face met mine. "What the hell, Nathan?" she cried, tried to push past me. But I stood for her man, told her, "You wanted excitement. Ava, well, here it is, your life. As you knew itis over," she pleaded with me, tears streaming down her face, claiming she was sorry and blaming Eric for pressuring her. I didn't care. She had made her choice, and now she would live with the consequences. I handed her the recording I had made of her bragging about her weekend plans. She went pale as she realized she had been caught. "You destroyed us, Ava," I said coldly. "Now you can navigate life on your own." I pointed to the trash bags in the garage and told her to leave. She begged me to reconsider, but I slammed the door in her face. She sat in the driveway for hours, but I didn't budge. The divorce papers would be sent soon, and there was no going back. In the weeks that followed, I felt like I was living in the path of a storm. The house was quieter than ever, but at least it was mine. Ava had wanted excitement. Now she could have it without me. After filing for divorce, I instructed my lawyer to send the documents to Ava's parents' address, the only stable place she had left to stay. Ava had been living temporarily with her childhood friend Julia, who I assumed wasn't fully aware of the chaos and betrayal Ava had caused. But Ava didn't just accept the reality of the situation quietly. She bombarded him with text calls and voicemails. Each attempt grew more desperate, filled with emotional pleas. Her mother even called me once, crying and begging for me to reconsider, imploring me to give Ava another chance. However, there was no chance of reconciliation between Ava and me. Only a deep, festering wound remained, a wound I desperately wanted to close forever. Each time I saw her name flash across my phone screen, it wasn't just a reminder of her attempts to reach me. It dredged up memories that felt like acid eating away at my resolve. Her carefree laughter while packing for her weekend getaway with Eric, her dismissive attitude when I pleaded with her not to go, and her unwavering belief that our marriage was indestructible. Those moments only solidified my resolve. Ava had betrayed me and everything we had built together, leaving no path for us to repair the damage. I wasn't surprised when she made her next move. One I had anticipated. One Wednesday afternoon, while I was busy reviewing reports of in my office, I heard raised voices outside my door. My secretary was speaking, but I could hear Ava's familiar tone rising above her protests. "Please, just let me talk to him." Ava's voice sounded frantic. I stepped out of my office and saw her standing there clutching the divorce papers. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes red and puffy from crying. Her once confident demeanor was gone, replaced by desperation. My colleagues glanced uncomfortably at the scene as I led her into a private side room. "What do you want, A?" I asked, my voice cold, my arms crossed. She held up the divorce papers, her hands trembling. "I can't sign these, Nathan. I can't do this. I love you. Please, let's talk. We can fix this," she begged, her voice cracking with emotion. The woman standing before me was a shadow of who she once was. Gone was the arrogance and the thrill-seeking spirit that had driven her to this point. All that was left was emptiness and regret, but I couldn't let myself feel pity for her. "Not now. We have nothing to discuss," I said firmly. "You made your choices, Ava. Now you have to live with them." Tears swelled up in her eyes, her voice trembling as she replied, "It was a mistake, Nathan. I thought it would be exciting, but it turned into a nightmare. I was stupid. I love you. You're the only person I've ever wanted. Her words mad at me, fist clench at my sides. You thought you could play with fire and then come back like nothing happened. You expect me to just forget everything. I asked, my voice filled with restrained anger. She reached out to touch my hand, but a step back. I've already given you my answer, I said before leaving the room without another glance behind me. I heard her soft sobs, but I didn't stop. It was the only way to protect myself from further pain for a while after that confrontation. A. Stop trying to contact me. I heard through a mutual friend that she had started therapy, perhaps the first truly constructive step she had taken since everything fell apart. Even as she worked on herself, wasn't ready to move on. I needed more than just her signature on the divorce papers. I needed closure. I wanted Ava to fully grasp the depth of the pain she had inflicted upon me. That's when I decided to send her one final message, a message that would leave no room for doubt or misunderstanding. I painstakingly compiled a record of her affair with Eric, detailing every reservation, every meeting, every sort off detail she had tried to downplay. It wasn't just for potential evidence in court. It was a way to force her to see her betrayal from my perspective. I included a short note asterisk. This is why I can never come back. This is why it's over asterisk. It had the package sent to her parents' house the next morning. Ava called May again this time. She left a voicemail. Her voice was barely audible, weighed down by guilt and sorrow. I got your package, she began, her words punctuated by deep, shaky breaths. I understand now, Nathan. I know what I did to you. I know how deeply it hurt you. I know I can never undo that. I wanted excitement, but all I did was destroy the most important thing I had. I didn't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand. I listened to the voicemail feeling a strange mix of emotions for the first time. She wasn't making excuses or justifying her actions. She was simply acknowledging the damage she had done. It brought me a sense of relief. She finally got it, and that was enough for me. Tobe Jin healing. The divorce was finalized quietly a few weeks later. There were no dramatic arguments, no last-minute theatrics. Avis signed the papers without resistance. She moved back in with her parents, and I stayed in the house, my house now, with her name erased from every part of it. At first, the emptiness of the house felt strange, but as time passed, I found peace in the silence. For the first time in years, I wasn't coming home to pain or uncertainty. I started focusing on myself again. I went to the gym regularly, rediscovered my love for hiking, and even picked up painting, a hobby I had abandoned long ago. My best friend Kevin was a constant source of encouragement, pushing me to keep moving forward when I felt like giving up. Ava made one final attempt to reach out, sending me a heartfelt letter apologizing again and explaining how she was working to rebuild her life, but I didn't respond. It was enough for me that she understood the magnitude of her betrayal. She had her own path to walk, one that no longer intersected with mine. Months passed, and as the seasons changed, so did I. I wasn't the broken man I had once been, sitting on the couch while my wife dressed for another man. I had grown stronger and wiser, realizing that no matter how devastating the fall, it was always possible to rise again. Onatari, during a hike with Kevin, I met a group of people. Among them was a woman named Emily. She was warm, easygoing, and had a smile that made me feel lighter. She joined us on the hike, and for the first time in what felt like ages, I found myself genuinely smiling. Westerted talking, and soon after I asked her out for coffee. It wasn't love at first sight, but it was real. Spending time with Emily reminded me of what love should be: not grand gestures or dramatic fights, but consistency, respect, and kindness. It was a new beginning, one that was grounded in sincerity and mutual care. And so my story continues. AA made her choices and paid the price for them while I chose to rebuild my life. Peace be peace, whether Emily becomes happily ever after remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, I've learned that no matter how deep the darkness, there is always a way back to the light.